Someone in the chat also brought this up, but like schizophrenic people are infinitely more likely to be victims of violence rather than those who perpetrate violent acts. So that's an important distinction to make here. Okay. The idea that like every schizophrenic person is scary and violent is most often portrayed in the media, and it's just like a
Well, we're going to continue our coverage of the mass shooting in Maine. We just heard a press conference, and you heard from Vlad a lot of the details that were revealed in that press conference. Robert Card, a 40-year-old man, has gone from a person of interest to a suspect facing murder charges. We know that there were 2 locations that the shootings occurred at, and we got a little more detail about when the shootings happened. The initial 911 calls came in at just 6:56 last night at the Just-in-Time Recreational Center in Lewiston. There, 7 people were killed, 6 men and 1 woman. And then just 7:08, really not long after the first series of 911 calls, another location, a Smenji's, which is, they called it a Smenji's Billiards. It's sort of like a restaurant as well. 8 men killed, 1 inside, and the rest of them, 1 outside rather, and the rest of them inside the facility. 3 other people, well, several people were transported to hospital, but 3 people died at the hospital, bringing the total number of dead to 18. 13 injured. The police would not talk about the ages. They weren't prepared to give out that information, but they have released information about Robert Card earlier today. A little bit of misinformation about his level of training in terms of firearms. He is not a firearms instructor, but he is part of the Army Reserve, and he's described as a petroleum expert. So our Elaine Keano has been covering this story on the ground for us, and we want to take you there. We also have Charles Marino standing by. He's a former Homeland Security Department advisor and agent. But I'm going to start with you, Elaine. This is something that can rock any community, but particularly in Maine, where they don't have a lot of homicides.
That's exactly right. And I spoke with one resident this morning who basically, when I asked him, have you ever had anything comparable like this happen here? He said, absolutely not. This is just a quiet.
Yeah, no red flag laws. Pretty easy to buy fucking guns. This guy was institutionalized numerous times, it seems. It's great. Cool stuff overall. People like to treat this person like it's an anomaly, but freaks like this are all too common in the state. Everyone knows someone like this in their area who's an arsenal in their closet could snap at any moment, and the state has no protections against people like this owning firearms. Yeah, guns are incredibly easy to acquire. They are readily available, readily accessible. We have no structure that helps people with undergoing severe mental health complications. As conditions worsen and everybody hyper focuses on their toys and the things that they purchase, and that thing being guns, they become more rabid in their defense of maintaining their guns and maintaining their arsenal. And there is no interest at all in moderating any of this, in regulating any of this. So what the fuck do we think is going to happen? Why isn't he being labeled as a terrorist by the media? Does he have to be bearded and Arab? What did he achieve? Killing civilians in terror? Yes, this is an act of stochastic terror, but because stochastic terror, specifically white supremacist or far-right stochastic terror, or a far-right guy snapping, okay, a far-right guy snapping and like going and doing a fucking random mass shooting is expected. Now, I want to explain something to you, okay? I want to explain something to you. Like, this, as far as I understand, is not like a hate crime that this person engaged in. He just went on a fucking murder spree, okay? He happens to be a far-right freak who went on a murder spree, okay? But it does seem like this is one of those instances where he just fucking snapped, okay? So obviously, the snapping, the snapping is more so a byproduct of not having adequate protective measures in place. Okay? Yeah, he was a paranoid schizophrenic who's also an alt-right extremist. Reading that shit is like gasoline for psychosis. True. Maine has massive gun and mental health issue with yellow flag laws. They are the highest suicide rate via firearm by a wide margin, and he also killed more people than the total in 2021.
Peaceful rural community. He kind of described it as a big, small town. Folks kind of know each other here, or they know of each other.
Lewiston is known for having a large immigrant population, especially Somali refugees. I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of why he went there. I live nearby. Some black activists on the ground have also apparently reported this guy before to law enforcement, saying that they were being harassed by him. But so we'll see. Most sites like 4chan and the deep far-right Reddits actively have people trying to trigger schizophrenic people's delusions. I've literally seen them say it. Yeah.
Each other. And so you can only imagine just how quickly the news of this has spread and the devastation for the families of the victims.
Listen, I'm not willing to make this assessment yet, okay? This is nearby. His sister said he might have been targeting an ex based on location. I've been watching this. This broke yesterday. I'm not willing to make an assessment at this point, but I will show you what he believes in, okay? But I want to make sure that you understand. I'm not stating that this is like this instance is absolutely like a hate crime. I don't think there's enough evidence yet on that matter. I think these are two separate things, okay? You only make assessments if Hamas says so, right? Dude, literally fucking the things I want to say to you, I think you know, okay? I think you know the things I want to say to you. I just can't fucking say it out loud, okay? Listen, take the IDF dick out of your fucking mouth. It's been lodged into your brain so fucking hard that it's stopping you. It's disrupting you from thinking clearly, okay? Like, it's almost been 10 days, okay? We're on the 10th day of the El Ahli hospital, and since then, thousands more Israel has bombed, and since then, the New York Times issued a report saying that everything that the Israeli officials and the American officials said about who was responsible for the bombing was a lie. Even some of my fucking biggest haters have at least had the decency to shut the fuck up about that and just like kind of hand wave it away. But you're still in here. Honestly, bro, I don't think there's a way to tell the IDF cog gobblers from the General Hasan haters because they all say the same shit. Yeah, I know, because the General Hasan haters do not have any political positions that they just go, oh, Hasan said it, so it must be wrong. I hate him. Anyway, like I said, thank you, Protasium. I agree with you. It's too indiscriminate to be a hate crime, at least thus far. We do not know. The X theory is probably the best motive I've heard so far. So this guy is crazy. Okay, it's crazy. He definitely, like, it seems like another moment of like someone quote unquote going postal rather than someone who is like deliberately and trying to do right-wing terrorism. Okay, he might be a right-wing psychopath on top of that, but it seems like his indiscriminate slaughter here is not directly associated with his right-wing values. He just seems incredibly mentally ill. Now, did right-wing radicalization probably feature or play a role in his like insanity? Probably, certainly. But I don't think that it's the it's the major responsible cause here.
Victims, so much pain, And yet this search is ongoing. So even as this community begins to deal with coming to terms with what happened, there is an active search underway. And we heard in that news conference just a short time ago that this individual, now a suspect, as you said, Robert Card, is considered armed and dangerous, not to be approached, obviously, at all. And so that, as you can only imagine, is only adding to the absolute level of fear and anxiety as this manhunt continues.
And so are people still being instructed to shelter in place? What are they hearing from police there?
So they are, but you'll see that every so often there are cars that are going by behind me here. That's because this is sort of a main artery, a lot of truck traffic. A lot of vehicles have been going back and forth. However, if you kind of go just beyond this main road, you'll see that there really isn't anything open. Empty parking lots of businesses, empty parking lots of restaurants. It is the middle of the day, a time when you might expect to see businesses with their doors open, welcoming customers. That is not the case here in Lewiston right now. So there is a very palpable sense of fear and anxiety. As I said, some folks here saying, you know, they are still really, frankly, in disbelief that something like this could happen here.
And I'm just sort of looking quickly, Elaine, at the president's statement. And of course, the president says, once again, our nation is mourning after yet another senseless and tragic mass shooting. Today, Jill and I are praying for the Americans who have lost their lives, for those still in critical care, and for their families, survivors, and community members enduring shock and grief. He goes on further down in the statement to say, while we had made progress on gun safety through the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the 24 executive actions I've taken and the establishment of the first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, it is simply not enough. And Elaine, it sort of brings me to the gun laws in Maine. And during the press briefing, a couple of reporters asked, how does somebody dealing with mental health issues get their hands on a gun? But the truth of the matter is, in Maine, in terms there's not a lot restricting you from getting your hands on a gun.
Yeah, that's right. And so you heard the officials say there, basically, they're looking at all those questions. And this is an issue that we should note is not unique to this community, right? Mm-hmm. How many times have we talked about these kinds of issues in other incidents? So it is certainly not something that is unique. Something that, though, is always scrutinized in these kinds of situations. What are those laws surrounding firearms? What laws could have prevented this? Mm-hmm. It is certainly something that we always hear debated in, unfortunately, what has become an all too common event in this country.
Definitely. So, listen, Charles, let me pivot over to you because you know what police are going through right now. They are looking for this man, Robert Card. Initially, they had released information about him being a firearms instructor. It turns out that's not the case, but he is in the reserves. He's got an active military ID. And from the way he looks like he's holding.
What are you saying? I am willing, because yesterday 4 schizophrenic people were standing in the middle of the street in my hood. They stood there for 35 minutes, like something stopped them. Those people don't talk, as my brother told me. What are you saying right now, Chatter? Are you okay? I feel like people are losing their minds a little bit here. Like, what do you think? There's like an activation code that happened that hit every schizophrenic person in a fucking 100-mile radius or something? Like, what's going on?
The gun. It looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, there's an obvious familiarity and comfort with weapon handling. You can tell that by the photo that's been released. What I can tell you is I expected to hear what we heard in the press conference. The state police are now very clearly identified as the lead agency, working with the Lewiston police and being augmented by federal agencies and other local police in the area. Updates on victims. Unfortunately, those that have been injured, some may continue to pass. So we'll expect continuous updates on that. And the fact that Mr. Card is now a identified suspect going from a person of interest now that the arrest warrant's been issued. What I can tell you, though, based on the fact that this is a rapid an ongoing investigation, there is information about the individual that they're just not going to want to release or that they don't know. And I think you heard that transparently during the press conference, that this is so rapidly evolving that they are conducting the investigation, not just in Maine, but across other states, to get as much information on the background of this individual as possible. And finally, they will issue a BOLO, a be on the lookout, for any type of vehicle, mode of transport associated and available to this suspect.
Why won't you state your position on the current scandal between the University of Michigan and spying on signs? Come on, dog. Come on, dog. Just fucking chill out, dude. I don't give a fuck about college football, dude. Are you out of your mind? Jesus Christ, sports fans. Take a second off.
Right? They're going to cast as wide a net as they can, and make sure that local authorities have that information. Technology is put in place, like license plate readers, to capture that in the event that he's on the run in a vehicle.
Yeah, you know, well, we point out that we had gotten some information yesterday. They had to issue a correction. So I'm sure moving forward, they want to be really careful about what they say about this investigation. But some of the details that they gave us yesterday that they sort of didn't want to really dive too much into during the press briefing was about his mental health status. That, according to police, there had been mental health issues, including hearing voices, and had possibly threatened to shoot up a military installation.
Someone in the chat also brought this up, but like schizophrenic people are infinitely more likely to be victims of violence rather than those who perpetrate violent acts. So that's an important distinction to make here, okay? The idea that like every schizophrenic person is scary and violent is most often portrayed in the media, and it's just like it's not how this works in the real world. Now, however, having said that, do I believe that if you're schizophrenic, you should not have access to a weapon? Absolutely. And it's not just schizophrenia either. If you have chronic depression, you should not have access to a weapon either. And that's not because I think that you're going to go out and do a mass shooting. That's because I think you're going to kill yourself. And as a matter of fact, many do. That's part of the reason why America has such high suicide rates for men. Men oftentimes use guns as an easy method to commit suicide. So this is something to also consider. Gun violence is massive in the United States of America, and a big part of that gun violence is actually suicides by gun. So, you know, these are all things to understand. These are all things to consider. I am absolutely the most ableist motherfucker you've ever heard in your entire life. If you think that I think that you should have a gun, despite having like severe mental illnesses, you're out of your fucking mind. You must be out of your goddamn mind, okay? No. It's for your own good and your own safety, okay? Anyway, let's continue.
In southern Maine, what are some of the factors that influence the way this search will unfold?
Do you see it normal that no Twitch streamers dare to even say a word in the Palestinian cause? It's fucking humanity, for fuck's sake. Brother, don't be ridiculous, okay? If I was like a normie, I wouldn't touch that shit with a 10-foot pole, especially considering that like mainstream media is so gung-ho on talking about how like Israel are the real victims of this ethnic cleansing campaign that they're conducting in Gaza, and that people are so fucking riled up about this issue. I wouldn't touch this with a 100-foot pole if I was a regular Twitch streamer. Even Palestinian and Muslim Twitch streamers who have friends who are Palestinian haven't really said too much. And there's a lot of Arab and Palestinian Twitch streamers out there. They haven't even fucking said anything because they're scared. They're scared that the Hasbara trolls are going to come fucking dox them and come after them and say that they're like anti-Semitic. There's also a real fear of like saying something that will be misconstrued. Okay? People should chill with the ableist card. I can't own a gun due to anxiety in my country due to legal reasons. It's perfectly fine. Who gives a shit? Exactly. I mean, I think that my haters over the course of the past decade of me both covering this and many other issues have basically, conditioned me into being ready to be able to talk about stuff like this without legitimate fear, because like they can't really do anything to me that hasn't been done to me by others and is still being done to me for the crime of having a political position that they do not agree with. So, that is the reality. That's why most people don't want to say anything, because they're fucking terrified. If you see college students get doxxed, okay, what do you think the purpose of that is? Do you think it's so that like those college students get killed? No, it's to say, shut the fuck up. You better not say a single goddamn thing about Palestinians or even Israel, okay? Just shut the fuck up. The only permissible position is to say you stand with Israel. If you say anything outside of that, who knows?
Or I guess the question that I am asking is, when you have somebody who knows his way around a gun and maybe in the middle of a mental health crisis, does that have an impact on the way the investigation or the search for him unfolds?
Well, I think right now the priority is to locate him. And I think there's no doubt, Amory, that authorities will go back and dissect what took place previously with respect to his mental health and any engagement with law enforcement. These are the common two areas where, unfortunately, in these types of situations, we see a gap in information sharing. Now, you brought up local laws. They do play a role. Maine does not have a red flag law that allows mental health officials to take action. They have what's called a yellow flag law, which means law enforcement are the only people that can take action regarding the removal of weapons from somebody suffering a mental health crisis. So the big question and the obvious question is, did mental health officials share information with law enforcement? Did law enforcement know what was going on with this individual regarding his weapons and how many weapons he had registered to himself?
Right. All really good questions. I was also, struck by the locations for these two mass shootings. Just-in-time recreation center, Schmegley's billiards hall. I mean, no, it's in the middle of the week, but these are sort of family-friendly places.
Well, I can tell you they're soft targets, right? They're not going to have much. They're not going to have much in the way of security.
Yeah, soft targets. That's why. Yeah. Famously, fucking shootings never happen on like military bases, which are also hard targets, right? It's just like everything is a deflection. Oh, mental health, deflection. Soft target, a deflection. We need to make sure that every fucking Smedley's or what is it? Shemengi's Bar and Grill Ristorante has a fucking auto turret outside of its door. Okay? The fuck are we doing? It's just... Man, I've had this argument so many fucking times. Like, is there even a purpose? Is there even a reason to relitigate this? Is there any reason to fucking talk about this over and over again? Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what the problem is. Someone in the chat also brought this up, but there are too many fucking guns in the streets, and there are too many fucking freaks who have access to guns, and it's very easy to get more. There's no mechanism in place to just like take away guns from people who should not have guns. And people are going to keep killing themselves with guns, and they're going to keep killing other people with guns, or they fucking snap. There's no way to solve the underlying material issues that make it so commonplace that people just fucking snap and lose their minds, and then they take out their arsenal and go fucking deploy it on an unsuspecting restaurant. Yeah. It's so strange that this only happens in the motherfucking United States of America. It doesn't happen anywhere else, just the U.S. But hey, I don't know. Let's not look at it. Let's not look at it. Let's not try to understand. Let's not look at all the places where there is no similar issue. And even the extremely rare, unironic good guy with a gun winds up getting killed by the cops afterwards anyway. There's that too. Why not cover the soon-to-be most important Fox News story? Charlottesville controversial Robert E. Lee statue was secretly melted down. We have exclusive footage of his molten end. The Washington Post thought it was important enough to email. Nice, dude. I can't believe that happened. FBI and local authorities are circling his most recently used address. Loud bangs heard and loudspeaker saying FBI come out. They think he's in his house or something. I don't know.
The suspect likely knew that, pre-planned this attack. And look, it's a small town, and these were likely two popular places. So they became, based on the number of people that gather at these spots, high-value targets for this suspect. And so he knows the area. He knew where to go to carry out this attack. He knew that there would be little resistance in the way of security, and he had an escape plan. He knew exactly what he was going to do after he carried out the attack. And now he's on.
He has multiple properties. How the fuck does this dude have multiple properties, bro? What is happening? Guns are expensive as fuck too. I just don't understand. Like, how did these motherfuckers get multiple properties and guns and shit? How? And a boat? He was in the military and never got deployed.
On the run. So just because somebody is suffering from a mental health crisis, and I've got a lot of experience in dealing with people, unfortunately, that suffer from this, but they're still able to formulate a plan of attack. Mm-hmm. So you have to look, do they maintain the competency to formulate a plan and carry that out with the mental health crisis in the background, driving them to make very, very poor decisions, to take violent actions. But the fact that they can formulate the plan, the fact that they may have resources available to them, all of this goes towards the actual threat level that they present, not only during the attack, but after the attack.
Mm-hmm. Charles, makes a whole lot of sense when you talk about having a plan. He moved really quickly between those two locations. Elaine, quickly, during the press conference, we saw a lot of people standing up there. Which agencies are involved in this investigation?
Yeah, so we know among them, right, a number of federal agencies, including the U.S. Marshals, ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco and Firearms agents, the FBI. And then it's interesting, Anne-Marie, as we were standing here just a moment ago, we saw with its lights on, going down the road here very quickly, a Department of Homeland Security.
I just don't understand how the fuck he got away with it. Like, I don't, what happened there? These cops were just, sitting around with their fucking thumbs in their ass? Like, what the fuck was going on? Like, it's not very easy and very, like, it's not easy to kill like 20 plus people. You know what I mean? It takes a while. So I don't get it. I don't understand how. Like it takes a while to fucking shoot 20 plus people, and at that point it's like, how the fuck is there what is the response time? Not if you have an assault style rifle at a soft target plays. I live in Maine, Livingston's the woods, dude. The second location was many miles away. Multi-location shooting, small town. Cops went to the first location while he was at the second, and they got to the second and he was gone. You said the Florida nightclub, but like they surrounded the Florida nightclub. You know what I mean? Like they swarmed his location immediately in the Pulse nightclub shooting. So unless I'm mistaking something, I'm pretty sure. Like I know how easy it is to empty out a 30 round magazine. I know I've done it. I've shot AR-15s. I get all of that. Okay. But I feel like you walk in, you start fucking shooting people. I don't know how long it takes, but it's wild to me that the cops were not able to immediately get to this location. HasanAbi doesn't understand small towns. I mean, I guess not. I don't know. I just don't understand how, like, can't expect anyone to know what to do against a guy who trains literal spec ops. If he isn't the highest profile target in America right now due to his knowledge of tactics, he's extremely dangerous. What are you saying, bro? He trains the military. He's literally a high profile target. What? The fucking Army reservists. You just made up the spec ops shit. Like, he's competent with a gun. That's it. And it doesn't matter how competent you are with a gun. No, I don't think he was I don't think he was a firearms trainer. That was wrong. Bella Hadid posed about the death threat she was getting on Insta. Yeah, we'll cover that after.
Security vehicle, a marked vehicle followed by an unmarked vehicle. They were speeding along in this direction behind me here. Unclear what that was about. But it just goes to the enormous amount of...
He's so good with a gun, the military didn't think it was fair to deploy him. Thank you for saying this and making me laugh in an otherwise horrifying time where the news is just so grim. Okay. So fucking dire. Yeah, the Army was like, that's OP, man. We can't do that. Is a 308 caliber sniper? Wait, is this new updates? Here,
to stand before you today to
also, I'm gonna run the top of the ad break again. I've lost it today. I'm not on the ball. I have officially dropped the ball today. Okay, I am willing to admit that. I am here to admit that. I'm ready. I'm able.